Hey everyone, I'm Holden, and today I'll be giving you my impressions on Assassin's Creed Syndicate for the PS4. I love Assassin's Creed. I always have. I've spent way too much money on this series, nearly £1,000 on games and merchandise since the first one. I've played through all the main series titles 100%, that is, until Unity. For me, Unity was basically unplayable. After about 4 hours, the game became almost painful for me to play, to the point where I was honestly thinking about it being my last Assassin's Creed game. After playing Syndicate over the weekend though, I can honestly say I'm glad to have given the series one last chance. In the story, you play as Jacob and Evie Fry, twin assassins who fight against the current Grandmaster of the British Templars, Crawford Starrick. Depending on who you're using at the time, the missions are different. Jacob tries to weaken Starrick by disrupting his influence through the use of the Rooks, a street gang the twins formed. Evie, on the other hand, believes retrieving a piece of Eden is most important. This leads to a lot of arguments between the two, which seemed a bit strange to me, as they could, and do, simply do both. There are a huge number of side missions in the game, but for once I actually enjoyed most of them. They are short and easy so as not to overstay their welcome, with most lasting less than 5 minutes. If they aren't your sort of thing though, they can easily be ignored, with most of them just serving to gain money and materials which can easily be found in other places. I could see people arguing that they make the game feel bloated, but in my opinion this is the best way Ubisoft has done them in a long time. The boroughs of London are controlled by a gang known as the Blighters, who are paid by Starrick to run his operations. To free each borough, you complete missions around the area, which eventually unlock a gang war mission, where the Rooks fight against the Blighters. Depending on your performance in the previous missions, you will either fight the leader of the gang of that area, or just a swarm of normal enemies. During these fights, the camera can get strangely close to your character, which makes it difficult to fight effectively. The modern day bookends for each chapter return, this time entirely in the form of cutscenes. They are unobtrusive at worst and amusing at best. They feature the return of Rebecca Crane and Sean Danger Hastings, this time searching for a piece of Eden in London. I enjoyed these sections, as honestly they're the only characters in the modern storyline I'd ever had any interest in, so I was glad to see them, if anyone, make a return. The biggest new feature of Syndicate is having two main characters, Jacob and Evie Fry. Jacob is supposed to be a brawler, less sneaking and more brute force, while Evie is the more traditional assassin. I say supposed to be, as until you unlock their individual skills, there is really little difference between the two. You can switch between the two characters at almost any point between missions from within the pause menu. It's kind of annoying though that when you switch characters, it immediately unpauses the game. When you just want to upgrade skills or change equipment for the other twin, this adds an unnecessary and kind of annoying step. I read that the intent with this game was to bring the parkour system back to its roots, with a feeling much closer to that of Assassin's Creed 2. While it definitely feels much better than Unity, the movement is still not as fluid as it has been previously. There are also some movements which seem to make perfect sense, but the game just will not allow you to perform. The rope launcher, however, makes up for the lack of fluidity by increasing your overall speed massively. To use it, simply aim at a building and press L1. If you're on street level, it rapidly takes you up onto the roof. But if you're already on a roof, it provides a fast way between buildings. The only problem I've had with this is that in some cases it can be kind of hard to tell where you're aiming. When you're just using it to get around fast, it isn't too bad, but if you want to get to the top of a certain building, it can be kind of annoying. The other new movement mechanic for this game is the use of carriages. The driving feels surprisingly good, with little problem in terms of control. When you have a waypoint while driving, a line is drawn on the floor between you and your destination. One annoying aspect though, is that the traffic on the streets is often quite dense. This causes you to ram into people you don't want to, or be forced to wait until the street clears, which can often make a journey take longer than it needs to. Completing missions, fighting enemies and performing certain actions earns you experience. When you reach 1,000 experience points, you get a skill point, which can be used to purchase upgrades for each of the twins, such as higher damage and health boosts. There are also certain upgrades, which can only be bought by one of the twins. Jacob's exclusive upgrades give him a boost to damage output or defense, where Evie's make her a more effective assassin, improving her sneaking and hiding. Some aspects of the game have been made much easier with the use of the new skills. The upgrades to Eagle Vision are hugely useful, allowing you to see and tag enemies through walls and later showing the direction enemies are facing on the map. It could be said that this makes the game too easy, but I find it simply makes the game flow much faster, with less downtime and fewer chances of making huge mistakes. As for problems, I've run into a few little bugs, like people stuck in walls, a member of the Rooks repeatedly firing his gun into the air, invisible people, and a situation where I was supposed to fight an enemy on top of a train, but he fell off. I think my most amusing glitch, however, was when I managed to make Jacob disappear when I got off a train. The train itself can be a problem at times, as accessing its missions can be somewhat awkward. The missions are found somewhere on the train, but each mission is found in a different place, and it can be quite hard to find them. Honestly though, these are very small problems with little impact on my enjoyment of the actual game. The only other thing that really bothers me is the scene after you assassinate an enemy. The conversation with what should be a dead person has got weirder than ever now, where in certain shots they're walking around and talking, but in others they're on the floor covered in blood. The blood itself is also a bit strange, as it looks kind of like you've poured pink paint on their chest, rather than shoved a spike through their neck. I'd like to think Ubisoft realised just how bad they did with Unity. It was bloated, ran poorly, and felt awful to play. Unity is the only mainline game that I've started but failed to finish. If they managed to alienate a fan as big as I am, then they have to have made some pretty big mistakes. Syndicate overall feels a much tighter game and it is much appreciated. Syndicate is quickly shaping up to be one of, if not my actual favourite game in the series. Every time I play it, I'm finding more and more things I love and finding it easier to ignore the bits that I don't. If you already love the series, you'll love this game. If you stopped because of Unity, then you owe it to yourself to buy this game, just so you can remember how good Assassin's Creed is at its best. For me, Syndicate is the game that made Assassin's Creed fun again. Thanks for watching.